Hello and welcome to Making Media Now, the Filmmakers Collaborative podcast. I'm your host, Michael Azevedo. Joining me on this episode is former Hollywood studio executive and serial entrepreneur, Steven Puri. After being an executive at 3 film studios and a producer on films such as Die Hard 5 and The Wolverine, having raised over $21 million of venture capital and running 3 startups, Steven has learned some vital lessons about high performers and how nurturing focus, particularly for creatives and entrepreneurs, is more important than ever as AI presents challenges and, when approached correctly, presents opportunities. Steven's latest entrepreneurial pursuit is the Suka Company, a website and app designed to help creatives tap into their deepest focus and extract their greatest potential. Making Media Now, which is available on all podcast platforms, including YouTube, is sponsored by Filmmakers Collaborative, a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting media makers from across the creative spectrum. From providing fiscal sponsorship to presenting an array of informative and educational programs, Filmmakers Collaborative supports creatives at every step in their journey. To learn more, visit filmmakerscollab.org. And if you're enjoying this podcast, please do give it a like, a share, a follow. Now on to my conversation with Steven Puri. Steven Puri, welcome to Making Media Now.
I hope this is one of your best episodes.
Okay, I do too. You've set the bar high.
You know what? Why aim low?
All right. So, Steven, let's get right into it. Let's start out with you taking the opportunity to introduce yourself to our listeners and give us a sense of what your creative path has been through your profession, where you started, how you got there, and where you are now.
Super happy to do that. So the reason to listen to this episode, among the many great ones that you've done, Michael, is I'm one of the few people you'll meet who has been a senior executive at a couple of motion picture studios, mainly on action movies, like big event movies, and also raised over $20 million of venture and run some startups, successes and failures. And all of that was sort of launched. Go to the timeline now. I was in Virginia when I was little. My parents taught me to code. They were both engineers.
Oh, wow.
So when I went to the University of Southern California, which has a great cinema TV school, I was not technically in the cinema TV school. I was in the journalism and business schools.
Okay.
And I happened to be there with my little, code monkey skills when film went digital. And a lot of my friends who were in the cinema TV school were like, there is a demand for people like you who can speak creative. We can turn around and also speak engineering. And I ended up producing, as you know, like the digital effects for 14 movies. That was the era of Seven and True Lies and Braveheart and Carlito's Way and a bunch of stuff. And Demolition Man, high art, Michael.
Hey man, a gig's a gig.
Right, exactly. Last Action Hero, which I will tell you, Last Action Hero, way better script. John McTiernan was rushed. There was a better movie in there. It was actually a really, really smart, poignant script. But they just, when Mark Canton went to Sony, he declared this has to be out June 6th. McTiernan had another month. Like there was a better movie you could have found in the editing room. Anyway, so
and where sort of in the executive pecking order in the C-suite, as they say, were you?
So at this period of time, from basically junior year at school through about 28, was digital effects. So either working on the design and execution of the computer generated part of movies, like some of the ones I named. Mm-hmm. Going on production, like I met Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin when they were getting going on Independence Day. So I produced the digital effects for Independence Day. We won the Academy Award for visual effects, which is awesome. Helps everyone's career involved.
Absolutely.
And then Roland, Dean, and I set up a company together. We got along really well. They're nice guys. And that company was to do high-end graphics for movies.
Yep.
So I ran that for 4 years. We ended up getting an acquisition offer from a big German media conglomerate called Das Werk. Mm-hmm. And at 28, I had my first exit, as one thinks in their 20s that you're better looking than you actually are, smarter than you actually are. And you're just like, just lucky that all worked out that way. And then that's when I said, okay, I think what I want to do next is I want to get films made. I don't want to be the guy called when the film is greenlit and need to make part of it.
Yep.
I want to work upstream with writers, directors, cast, put things together. And that's how I ended up,
And was it
executive
was
vice
it the
president of Universal.
exposure to that community and the collaboration with that community over those years that led to you making that decision?
Yeah. I mean, keep in mind, digital was so new at that time. A young punk like me, like 21, 22, I'm sitting in post production dailies with Cameron, listening to how someone at that level of the game is analyzing his dailies from the last day, his effect shots. I mean, it's like you get to sit around with Jordan as he's like practicing. And you're like, oh, this is what greatness looks like, And some of them were more artistic. I worked with Woody Allen, didn't learn a lot there. That was not kind of my kind of film. Worked with Jim Jarmusch on Dead Man, the Johnny Depp movie.
Sure.
But the ones, that stood out were like Last Action Hero, Demolition Man, Seven, True Lies, Braveheart. And then that's when I was like, I want to go work at a studio and become a buyer. So anyway, long story, and here we are.
No, not too long at all by any means. So when you made that transition to becoming the buyer, essentially the producer of the films, how did that experience change from being essentially part of the technical creative team?
I will tell you something I don't talk about a lot because unless you're sort of inside baseball, this will not make a lot of sense. But when I had that moment, I was like, okay, we just sold Centropolis. I produced the digital for Independence Day. We won the visual effects Oscar for that. Like thinking I have all this cred, right? So I had lunch with a few friends of mine after we had sold the company. I had traveled for a year or two with my girlfriend. She was a flight attendant for Air France, which is an awesome way to travel. And I was like, okay, I need to get back to work and do something with my life. And lunch with some friends going, hey, you know what? I know all these guys on a first name basis. Like I did 2 movies with Mel, like Cameron, I have a bunch of friends in his company. He knows. And my friends sort of poured the cold water of my head. They're like, you have to understand that all of these guys do not look at you as someone who's going to bring them their next movie. They look at you as the guy who's going to help them as a craftsman make their current movie. It's right. A huge chasm that you don't know exists, right. But it's kind of like a caste system almost.
Mm-hmm, sure.
And so I was like, okay, fine. What should I do? 2 of my friends in the same week over lunch said the same thing. And I was like, they're probably right. Said, you should go put your ego on the shelf and go be an assistant, go be a secretary. And I was like, for real, for real? I was just, my last line on my resume is like president Centropolis Effects. They're like, yeah, you should work a year for a seller, be on all the calls, read everything, learn the language, and then work a year for a buyer. And the exact same thing. So you've been on both sides of that call and you know how to decode the language, how it goes down. Yep. It was fantastic advice. I ended up the first assistant for the president of Paramount, who had just come over from Disney, and met everybody in town that way. When you're like when you're the gatekeeper, the first assistant to the president, like everybody's nice to you because they want to get his attention, right? So that catapulted my career forward. Let's not kid ourselves. But they also got coffee. It doesn't sound, it's not glamorous. It is only you in get us coffee, you.
That's what I was about to ask you. Did you feel in a sense like you were sort of working undercover? Like they don't realize the ambitions that I have?
You know what? The worst moment was this. My dad, who is an immigrant, who worked very hard his whole life, he called my office once, not my line, but the main line, and they transferred him to me. And I picked up the phone saying, it's Tom Jacobson's office. This is Steven. Can I help you? And my dad just said, what actually happened with Centropolis? We fired? Like, you can tell me the truth. And I was like, wow.
Because one could not have led to the other.
Yeah. He was like, how did you become a secretary? Like, if you're lying to me about selling your company and now you're working as a secretary, it's okay. I'm your dad. Just tell me the truth of what happened. I was like, I can't talk right now. I have 3 lines going, but I will call you tonight. And that was really hard. I was like, my dad is so disappointed. He thinks I'm a failure.
This is a movie plot in itself.
You ever see Swimming with Sharks?
Oh, yeah, a long while ago. Kevin Spacey?
It's a reality show.
Yeah.
It is not a fictional film. That is a documentary.
So coming out of that experience, I know that your most recent entrepreneurial venture is called the Suka Company.
That's true. Yeah.
What were the breadcrumbs that led to your experiences through multiple facets within the entertainment and movie making business to the creation of the Suka Company? And let's define the Suka Company for listeners also.
Yeah. A big part of that is failure, like painful, humiliating failure. So when I was at Fox in Big 20th, Big Fox, So I was running the Die Hard franchise around Die Hard 5, the Wolverine franchise around the Wolverine, Chris McQuarrie one. And
I
I
have to
realized,
confess to not even knowing there were five diehards. Where
right, and you shouldn't.
I knew there were
You should
at least
no.
two.
That little light from Paycheck that erases your mind, just use that. You never need to see really beyond one.
Was Bruce Willis in all five?
Yeah. Someone in Fox marketing just rolled over in their grave. They're like, how have we failed?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, he's in all five.
I'll edit this to make it have an exclamation point. Bruce Willis was in all five.
Right. No, he was. So I will say this: the the pitch to me from the chairman of Fox to leave DreamWorks and go to Fox was, "Hey man, you probably grew up watching Die Hard." I was like, "I did." He's like, "Do you want to be the executive on that franchise? I need someone to run that for me." And I was like, "This is hard to say no." He's like, "What about Wolverine?" And I was like, "The first one I really didn't think was that good." He's like, "Let's make the second one better." And his pitch to me was, "You have all these great relationships with Lindelof, with Alex and Bob, with Billy Ray and David Ayer and Chris McQuarrie from DreamWorks, which is a very talent friendly studio.
Right.
And at Fox, they won't work here because they think we're really bad to creatives." He's like, "If you come here, I'll give you an open checkbook. Get them working here. I want to use all this Avatar money that we have to, up level." And the reality is, after a year or two, he had been true to his word. I got David Ayer writing an original to direct. That cost $1.25. Chris McQuarrie is writing the Wolverine. Billy Ray was adapting 24, the series with Howard Gordon to make the feature film. And all those were going. And I was like, wow, this is really great. But I noticed none of them got any traction to be greenlit. He was completely disinterested in them. He would only ask me about Die Hard 5, which I had inherited the writer, who was terrible. Super fun guy, like super, super fun guy to party with. Not a good writer. But Bruce had picked him before I got there and was like, "Hey, my guy's writing this." And that was the only thing he was interested in. And I had a moment of, I get it. This is show business. This is not show art. It is a very easy projection to go, how much will Die Hard make? If we put out that poster, you can say exactly opening weekend, this is what we're going to do. Second weekend, fall off. And I was like, I'm going to wake up, be 40, 50, 60 years old, making Die Hard 9 because it makes sense for the studio. And that was my time to leave. And plus, I just really didn't have a lot of respect for my boss. I was like, "You brought me here, but you really just want to keep making Alien versus Predator spinoffs."
Yeah. So you weren't finding any intrinsic value in
No, I was like, I hated it. And the thing is, from the outside, you're like a senior executive, a vice president at one of the few motion picture studios making $150 million. You know what I mean? From the outside, it's like, Puri, you have a great job. And the reality is, you have much like in venture capital, you have a weekly meeting early in the week, kind of pitch potential investments, try and get the partners aboard. We had a very similar thing with our two chairmen, where we, the senior executives, the vice presidents, would be arguing, "This is why you should give me $150 million and let's make the offer to Brad and we're going to go shoot that thing." And if I brought up any of the originals, like, it was as if I was reading a list of dirty laundry left in my bathhouse. It was like just watching his face wait for me to be done so we could go, "So how's Die Hard 5?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "I need to get up. I need to get up."
Yeah. Yeah. So what did you learn about the creative mindset? We're generalizing here, but
Mhm.
generally speaking, it's aspirations, it's insecurities, the sort of the melding of the two, where there's a feeling that unless my creation isn't brought out into the world, the my destiny has not been fulfilled, and all of that sort of interior work, right? All of that interior insight. How did you pull that out of your experiences in the movie making business to start the Suka company?
So, for those who don't know, and I know you teed this up a moment ago, Michael, so let me respectfully answer your question.
Sure.
The Suka company is a flow state website. It's a website to help you get into a flow state. It is something where I looked at the patterns of what I'd seen with like the $1 million writers, the top drawer creatives. And I was like, they do this year after year. They don't burn out. They have a way of delivering like 3 scripts at a time. They're doing a polish on this, and David's working on that is incredible. And you had lower level people that continually seem distracted or procrastinating.
Yep.
I was like, how do we almost like, I'm not saying I'm Prometheus, but kind of like that idea of like, how do we get the fire from up on the mountain and bring it down to everyone and make it really accessible? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we can all cook our food. And that's basically when I stumbled onto flow states. And I was like, oh, this is part of the secret of getting your brain into like a neurochemical state where you do your best work, distractions kind of fall away. You at the end of it feel uplifted, like, oh, this was a great experience, rather than, oh, I'm so tired, I need to go to bed. And that was something where I was like, I think this will be the thing I tell my children that I did. It much more so than the Wolverine or, Transformers or anything else I worked on.
And the attainment of flow state, which certainly isn't
Mm-hmm.
exclusive to, creatives, you hear it apply
Nope.
to, athletes or top performers across every niche. Of course, isn't something that was cooked up in the early 2000s, maybe the popular dissemination, of it. Um, but what was it that made it feel like a real thing to you
I
as
will tell you, this is
opposed to a
embarrassing.
brand?
This is embarrassing. So I'm in Austin, Texas, and I was going from here. There's a nonstop from here to SF, where the next day I was going to meet my team on this app we were building. And I had an idea for a feature I wanted to mock up. So I'm like, oh, I'll get on the flight, open Figma, and kind of do a hacky version of this, right? So get on, Alaska runs that nonstop, get on the flight. Captain's like, hey, kids, sorry, Wi-Fi's out, see you in SF. And we took off. I started working. I finished. About 15 minutes later, we were like descending. And I was like, what is going on exactly? Did something happen to the plane? We're landing like in Denver or Dallas? Like, no, we were in SF. I had no concept. Over 2 hours and 40 minutes had gone by,
You had
and my
slipped the
work was done.
time-space continuum.
It is, I'm telling you. So I had prepared, maybe you've done this, but I had prepared myself for the bad pattern in my life. Okay, I'm going to go grab a sandwich in the hotel lobby, go up to the room, sit at the little desk, finish this, pass out in the bed, go to the meeting in the morning, right? I got in the Uber. I called a buddy of mine. I was like, I have a free night in SF. Do you want to have dinner? I related this to him. He's like, okay, that's a flow state, right? I was like, tell me more. What are you talking about? He's like, how have you made it this far in life and not known like this is a neurochemical thing? This is a thing. It's not woo woo. And then that led me on the path of like, oh, why didn't someone tell me at college? Who would
I
have
have
made
to
college a lot
imagine that
easier?
being in that space where you lost track of what time it was and how long you had been doing
Right?
the thing that you were doing. That couldn't have been the first time you experienced it. Maybe that was the first time a name was applied to it.
I kind of. I think I'm a very distracted, procrastinating person, to be super blunt. Like, if I need to be disciplined, there's 3 screenplays to read tonight. We're meeting with the director tomorrow. I have to, like, I will do it, right? But I get distracted easily and I procrastinate. And it was then in reading that book Flow, which, okay, just to catch, I know part of the audience, they're flow masters and they're floating above their desk in like, Nirvana, but there are probably some that are like, I've heard about it. It's getting more popular in pop culture. What is this? So this guy, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, very much like you said, Michael, maybe 2 minutes ago, he had a thesis. He goes, you talk to high performers in very different disciplines, like athletes and authors and artists and scientists. And when they talk about the highly concentrated state where they do the thing that makes them famous, that we know them for, they talk about that state in very similar ways, even though what they're doing is wildly different. He's
Sure.
like, there's something to that. So he did the research. At the end of it, he wrote the book, Flow, the seminal work on this, which is why we call it a flow state. And he said the most beautiful thing. He said, I chose this word, even though Michael Jordan calls it, I'm in the zone, it's just me and the ball, or
Absolutely. Sure.
Picasso has his muses. Everybody has their word when I talk to them.
Yep.
So I chose flow because we are all on the river, paddling to move ourselves forward. But if you align your boat with the current, you go further and faster. It
Right.
magnifies your efforts. That's what they found out how to do. And that was a huge unlock for me. Like, that changed my life. That's why I'm like, we're going to create a flow state app and like share this.
So how do you take that sort of esoteric concept, highly desirable, but
Yeah.
there's not an easy roadmap necessarily, and turn that into an app where it has to where the app becomes dependent upon coding and an algorithm and
Mm-hmm.
recognizable and
Very
repeatable
true.
patterns and so forth. So you got a left brain, right brain thing going on.
That is
How
correct.
did that all come together?
So I did the obvious thing. Again, keep in mind I'm lazy. There were a bunch of apps that claimed to help with this. So I tried them. Some are like, we generate, live music by an algorithm for you to get into flow or whatever. They were just random music generators running on Gen AI. You know what I mean? I was like, okay. There were like Pomodoro timers and different kinds of like distraction blockers.
Pomodoro timer.
Pomodoro's is a technique. This guy, Francesco Cirillo, he's an Italian guy. He came up with this idea that we work better, our brains work better if we take regular breaks. So
Okay.
he had a tomato kitchen timer. Pomodoro means tomato.
Sure. Yeah.
And he set it for 25 minutes. And then when it went off, he would set it for 5 minutes and he would get out of the kitchen, go do whatever he's going to. It's a pretty popular productivity technique, this 25 and 5. And then after a couple hours, you do like a longer break. So to answer your question, I tried a bunch of the apps out there.
Mhm.
Some were fun. Like there's one where a little on your phone, like a tree grows while you work. It was super fun. None of them stuck. After a couple of days, I wasn't using any of them. And that's when I went deeper and read like, okay, what does Newport say about this? What does Kotler say? What does Clear say? What does David Allen's like? How do you put those together? Because I'm lazy. I just wanted one button in the center of this. When I open it before I work, I want one button. I click it, locks my distractions, plays music. A little friendly assistant says, hey, top thing on your list today is so and so. You have 20 minutes left on it. And it's like, oh, okay, I should get moving. And that's it. It's just the ingredients for flow in one button.
And how do you anticipate the various needs? Because, one person's desire for flow is to be able to tease out that creative vision that
Mm-hmm.
felt just beyond their reach, but it still keeps bouncing around their head. Another person's idea of flow is let me get into my cubicle and go to town on this spreadsheet and emerge 6 hours later with something that's going to wow the board, right? So
You were spot on. You were spot
yeah.
on. And that was one of the journey of past 5, 6 years. I've been talking about flow states and, designing this and talking to members who are using it. And you were right. One of the key things was we are all individuals. So yes, read the Kotler research, read this, like it takes 15 to 23 minutes for your prefrontal cortex activity to kind of shut down. That is why you lose yourself in the work because the prefrontal cortex, like here behind your forehead, is what needs to go away for you to feel one. Like jazz musicians, freestyle rappers, they put them in fMRI machines. And the moment they're like, I'm in flow now, this activity goes way down and they are just not editing themselves. You know what I mean? They're like in the flow.
Yep. Yep.
So that sort of thing, you are right. It was a lot of lessons of people saying, like, actually, I need this to work this way. This is how my brain works. And Tony, my partner, and I being like, okay, let's see how we build that in a way that makes sense.
And does the app run? Is it a membership
Yeah,
type of
it's free
deal?
for 3 days. Like people generally, if they have heard about flow states and they Google flow states, we come up kind of first.
Okay.
So for 3 days, people can try it for free. And if they're like, whoa, like me on that Alaska flight, it's like, why would it work any other way?
Right.
Then
Right.
it's like $20 a month.
And then once I enter into the community, I sort of check it out. How does, a potential member find where do I belong within this? Where do I find the tools or resources that are going to help me, sort of, grease the skids to get me into the flow state?
Yeah. So I want it to be really simple to start. So it's a one button available to you. You click that, your Pomodoro timer starts, right? You can click the timer and edit it. Like I do 55 and 5 because it just works better for me. But immediately it says,
What
hey
does
man,
55 and 5 mean?
55 minutes with a 5 minute break, as
Okay.
opposed to Pomodoro, which is 25 minutes and a five
All right.
minute break, right? I always find it 25 minutes, the ding goes off, and I'm like right in the middle of a thought. It's not my rhythm. So that was one of the learnings going, should we be rigid about no, the gospel of Pomodoro is 25?
Mhm.
Or should we let someone click and go, I really want to do 55 and 5? We made it customizable, right? So to answer your question, when you do that, you can start a session immediately. And then they're a little, almost like a bento box. They're little bento box icons. You can click and it'll turn over. So if you're saying, oh, I want to adjust my music, there's a little music note. It flips over, choose a playlist, upbeat, down tempo, lo-fi, binaural beats, we have naturescapes, a lot of different things. So it's like that.
What do you know about your members? What kind of analytics do you have around your members in terms of, uh, I don't know where in the spectrum do their ambitions lie? Like
Oh, I'll tell you,
what do they hope
they're
to achieve within the flow state?
they are almost all writers, designers, or developers.
Fascinating. Okay.
That
Yeah.
is, it is. I'm on my laptop. I need to create something. It could be code, it could be prose, it could be lines and circles. And this allows me to just be one with the work and
Hmm.
then finish at noon or 1 or 2 o'clock instead of at 6 o'clock, be like, where did the day go?
So we're having this conversation at a time where human creativity now almost has to prove its worth, almost has to prove its value relative to AI. What are you observing around that, potential clash? Is it provoking a lot more anxiety around, well, geez, maybe I was never creative to begin with, if an AI can do it, or on the other hand, is it provoking a feeling of you guys don't even know what creativity is. Let me get into flow state and show you what creativity is.
Right. So Steven Spielberg used to only edit on a flatbed with his female editor, whose name I don't recall right at this moment. And he said he loved doing it that way as opposed to moving to a digital tool like Avid or Pro. What was the Apple one?
Pro
Um,
Tools,
yeah, it was Pro Tools or there was an
Final
Apple
Cut.
Final Cut, right? So he did that because he said, actually, the minute it takes her to sort of undo the splice and try it 3 frames shorter, it helps me that just have that moment of pause rather than just throwing versions at me every like 2 seconds. I moved it again, and I can't tell what's good, right? So it's really interesting to hear Steven say that. Now he has since obviously adopted digital editing because, like you said, the benefits are huge. You need to adapt. So you're not looking at 4,000 versions where you do become lost. Like, I don't know, version 6, they're all fine. Here's the deeper thing I think you're getting at, and I have a very strong opinion about this. Most of what the fear and anxiety is right now out there is, like you said, will I be displaced? The thing that I do, is that no longer of value, right? I can go into Google, I can go into, Claude or whatever, and suddenly it's creating things faster than I could with colors and pixels and words. And right. So here's the thing you have to remember is LLMs, or in general, AI that's been trained on the past, on the history,
Yep.
is very good at saying, hey guys, I saw everything you wrote. Here are the patterns of your history. I'm just going to extend that into the future. You want more of the same?
Yep.
I will revert you to the mean of everything written. There's no human alive who could have read all the things I read. So I'm just going to tell you, I'm pulling the history into the present. The opportunity is to say, oh, that's great. Okay. But as an artist, what am I doing to pull the future into the present? To say, how do I break some of those patterns in ways that are interesting? Because
Sure.
the AI is not going to do that. It's going to keep repeating the past and give you versions,
Yep.
variations on the past, but that's what it knows. That's how it is built.
Right. And I would say
Answer your
that
question?
even, sometimes a phrase like, how do I pull the future into the present makes it feel like, oh, all of the creative output here is going to be sort of a perhaps a sci-fi bent or so forth. But there's also the opportunity to, I'm not going to accept that there's a finite and fixed number of perspectives on the present.
Mm-hmm.
And within my creative abilities, no, LLMs, I got something you guys haven't heard of. So help me get there. So I guess what I'm saying is, in your estimation, does the challenge become how does a creative create an environment where the AI is working for them instead of the other way around, where they're
Yeah, because
working
the,
for
the,
the
the
AI?
baseline just moved up. Like, to use that Stephen example back with the flatbed editing, like, you are not going to sit there all night as it takes 3 or 4 minutes to open up a splice, cut out a frame, log where you put the frame, splice it back together. Like, it limits your ability to do that. So the baseline something is much higher in which you can have a conversation with essentially the chat interface and say, try this, try that, right? So that kind of thing, you have much more agency and you don't need teams of people to do. But the thing is, what you're asking for is a thing that the LM can't do. The LM is not going to say, do you remember, for example, there's that great, it's like one of the iconic newspaper ads. I know, newspapers of the old times, right? But it's in like the Chiat offices where it's a full page ad, empty, and there's a little dot with a Volkswagen in it. and it said like think small,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
AI is not going to give you that.
Right.
That's someone going, I'm going to break the pattern of every stupid car ad we've ever been paid millions of dollars to make. People are going to stop turning the page of the newspaper right here. And they did. And we're still talking about it 30, 40 years later.
Right, right. So within the Suka Company app, is there the opportunity for you were just when you were talking about LLMs and
Mm-hmm.
essentially, and I'm boiling this down to a very layman's understanding of it. The
Probably better.
LLM is basically taking anything that was ever anything that I could hoover up that existed in a digital format on the
Mm-hmm.
internet, that's
Yep.
what I'm going to do. In the Suka company, as people continue to work with the essentially these productivity tools to be able to
Mm-hmm.
get in, to achieve a flow state, is the app itself learning about the user to the extent of they might even help the user avoid what previously would have been, an error or a thought pattern that wasn't
That is
necessarily productive.
such a smart question. I don't remember the last time someone asked me that. It is very much an experience where at the end of your, okay, going back to Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the Hungarian who came up with naming flow, right? He said, there are some components of this. Like when you're in it, you lose track of time. Distractions don't seem interesting. You're one with the work. Like you finish, you can feel up. He said, one of the things to stay in a flow state is you need to have feedback. You're not pouring energy into a black hole with no idea if it's any good, right? So
Exactly.
what we did was we gave you a little productivity graph where you can see like when did I get distracted? When did I open my phone? When did I open Amazon, which I'm guilty of, right?
Sure.
Things like that. And you can see, oh, did I finish according to my estimates? And when you're done, the LLM will look at the data from your sessions and give you advice like, hey, man, it seems like every time around 30, 40 minutes in, you pick up your phone. How can I help you with that?
Right.
It
Right.
seems like at an hour break, you're not breaking, but you start getting distracted. What if I schedule a break for you every 55 minutes and you have to walk away from the computer? You want to try that? And that sort of thing. In my mind, our model for this is if I had my best friend sitting here, my best friends know I'm, working on my term paper and I pick up my phone and he wouldn't slap my hand or lock my phone. He goes, Steven, is that helping you, dude? And I'd be like, oh, no, Michael, you're right. Yeah, let me put it down. And that's
Yeah.
all I need. I'm an adult. I don't need to be spoken to like I'm a child with a jail phone. I just need like, hey, man, you know what? Like at an hour, it seems like always like your concentration goes off a cliff. Why not take a walk then?
Well, it also sounds potentially like I don't know if you're familiar with the work of Stephen Pressman, who
Oh my God. Yeah. The war
and he
of
writes about
art. And yeah, no one
yes,
gives a
exactly.
shit about what you wrote.
Well, he also writes about the resistance, and the
Yeah.
resistance will continually present itself.
Yeah.
So I do wonder
It's
sometimes if,
brilliant.
that urge to pick up the phone, that urge to essentially, do something other than the task I set out on,
Yes.
is is the resistance manifesting itself where you don't trust yourself to take that next step because maybe it's unknown, maybe because you're not getting the external validation. And something like, the Suka company in their app might have the built-in intelligence to say, the worst you can do is get it wrong. Hang in with us. That's why we're here.
Yeah. Let me say this. The website, the Flow State website, the app we built is not magic. It is not going to cure everything, but it is built on a fundamental belief that I have. And Tony, my partner, shares this, which is we all have something great inside us. And the question of this lifetime is not, do you have it? It's, will you release it before you die? Will you go to your grave with the next great American novel in you, or the documentary in you, or the restaurant concept, or the teaching young people how to do, that's really what it is. So I believe this about people. And we were here to say there is a small subset of people who are going to raise their hand and go, no, man, I'm not taking this to my grave. I want help. I want a tool. Makes this a beautiful experience. Most people bought Mark Zuckerberg a 450-foot yacht because they end up on the sofa scrolling and double tapping. And Mark's like, thank you. I have so much contempt for you. I build these tools to distract you.
So true.
I just want to sell your life to these advertisers.
Right.
And I call it on my earnings calls shareholder value. That's how I refer to your attention, shareholder value.
Yeah.
So please, I want you to go to your grave with the book inside you because that's how I buy a yacht. And that, I think, is criminal.
Yeah. Do you have some case studies, testimonials around, let's again just call them creatives that have used your app and that has allowed them to, in their own estimation, make advances and achievements in their chosen area of creativity?
Yeah, there are a bunch of testimonials I put on the website, but I'll tell you the one above everything else that stands out for me more than, oh, I finished my novel, I finished the thing, which I'm very proud of everyone. But there's one where I was like, whoa, Tony, like this makes me feel something inside.
Uh-huh.
It was about a year ago. There was a guy that I saw in there pretty frequently named Roy King. And his bio said he was the assistant vice principal for some high school in Missouri, right? I don't see him in there. And now the way we built, there's like a group chat, which you can open or close. And if you want to share what you're working on, people can ask you about it. Like, hey, man, I redesigned my website. I just finished it. Oh, post the URL. Let's all look at it together, right? So it's kind of like a warm space. So he posted his one thing a day. You can only post one thing a day, so you can't spam it, right? Post one thing a day was finished my dissertation. And people in the group chat were like, hey, man, that's kind of like a mic drop moment. Like,
Exactly.
it's not like
Thing that
hey,
typically takes 7 years.
yeah, I know exactly. Laundry's done. I got to go eat. Right. So he said, listen, while I'm this assistant vice principal of this high school and a dad and a husband, I've been working on my doctorate in electrical engineering. So I realize I have about an hour each day in between school and being a dad where I can work and a little time on weekends sometimes. And I've used Suka to maximize that hour. So I am in the zone. But don't get excited because I still have to defend my dissertation, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, that's like 2 weeks from Monday. So 2 weeks go by, no one says anything. That weekend, which made my heart very happy, I saw people in the group chat, people that I know do not know him. Like I know everyone's relationship. People, China, South America, going, Roy, you got this, man. Good luck on Monday. We're pulling for you. And I was like, that makes me feel good. Monday, nothing. Someone finally posted, hey, anyone heard from Roy? Like, is this bad? Tuesday morning, Roy logged in, posted, you may now call me Dr. King.
Oh, right on. See, absolutely.
That makes all of it worthwhile for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating that you say that, and it's such a great example of several episodes back. I had a conversation with some folks who made a documentary called Your Attention, Please, and it was really about how the attention economy
Yeah.
is calibrated to create division and distraction that really only benefits, the tech companies. But you just proved, as we pointed out when I was having that conversation, that the creators of this technology can make a choice to build creative collaboration and mutual support and be encouraging someone who you're never going to meet, just
Okay.
applauding
So
their achievement and encouraging
you and I have talked about private equity. You've seen inside the belly of that beast,
Yeah.
right? So when you think about whether you like him or not, Zuckerberg, Musk, Evan at Snapchat, whatever it is, right? They have shareholders to whom they report. They need to maximize shareholder value, right? So the reality is, 10 years ago, Zuckerberg would be called to testify in Congress, right? And he did that aw shucks thing of like, oh, Facebook's just here so grandmas can see their grandkids' videos. That's what we do, right? That era is over. You listen to their earnings calls and they're like, here are the techniques that we are deploying to get more time out of everyone's lives to watch our ads. By the way, we're making these massive offers to every engineer, designer, casino game designer, behavioral psychologist, behavioral economist, come on staff and help us do this. Because if we just round that button's pixels, maybe 2 pixels more, we should run an A/B test to see will more people give us another second of their lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you are against those incentives, like Charlie Munger would say, like, show me the incentive as in a system, and I'll show you the outcomes, right? Yeah. When you're up against those incentives where they're doing their job, they're like, we know that hate, division brings more engagement. Therefore, we should fan those flames because it boosts our stock price.
Right.
I don't know how you get out of that loop. I'm here, Tony and I are here for the people who go, I have something to do with my life and I need help.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, whether or not that will ever be the majority, history will tell you that it probably won't be.
It will never be.
But it can be a meaningful minority of,
Yep.
of people too. Let's make integrity
We
sexy.
few, we proud few, we band of brothers, right?
Before I let you go, a couple of things. I would imagine that, well, perhaps I shouldn't imagine. I'm going to ask you,
Yeah.
does a part of your brain still stay plugged into the machinations of the film world? And do you have any off-the-cuff observations of, what you might be seeing? You say particularly along the line of like the most recent success with Obsession and Back Rooms, where you had, essentially micro budgets
Right.
that are
They could be
already like
promoted by YouTubers
50x
and
in
yeah.
return.
Yeah. I do think we've gone to the well so many times with the spin-off of the backstory with the massage therapist on Tatooine. We're going to make a series out of that Star Wars character. You know what I mean? Where it's diminishing returns now. It's not the excitement of Star Wars. I just don't feel that electricity anymore. It's like, oh, it came out, it's good, blah, blah. With some of the Marvel stuff, like they've gone to the well so many times, rebooted so many times, right? That there's kind of an exhaustion with those, which is why you do get some things that break through that are like, here is an honest to God character story. Like these characters are real. Like you can feel the truth. They probably remind you of your dad and brother having a fight. You know what I mean? That kind of truth, I think, is eternal because ultimately we tell stories to relate to each other the truths we believe about life. That's why we have stories to go. I want you to understand how I view life. Let me tell you a story.
Yeah,
You
that
know?
is what it boils down to.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And for all of the creatives out there, it doesn't matter what you feel you have a hint of creativity around, whether you're a budding entrepreneur or you want to start that restaurant or you want to write that novel, make that film,
Yeah.
etc. And you want to check out how the Suka company, what they offer, what the app offers might be able to help them. Where do we send them?
They can go to the Suka website, which is TheSukha.co. Suka means happiness.
I'll make sure that link is
And
in the
it's
episode
free for
notes.
3 days. And let me be super blunt. If you use it and love it and you're like, oh, I can't afford $20 a month, I can afford 10 or 5. I don't collect a paycheck from this. Tony and I do this for free. DM me and just be like, hey man, I love this. I'm a poor student. I'm a struggling filmmaker. I can afford $2 a month. Done. There's no question you can have it. I just want to see that the residue of our generation is not Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Snap taking everyone's lives and stopping them from doing something. I want to see that there's something out there where you go, I created something amazing.
Well, that is a mission worth supporting. And
It's hard. Like you said, it's not popular. It's easier to scroll, man. I'm guilty of it. I open TikTok for a minute, an hour goes by. I'm like, oh, I'm late. It's beautifully designed.
yes, who knew that lip syncing could be so lucrative?
Right? Oh my Lord, Michael. Yeah. And by the way, speaking of movies, and I know you'll appreciate this. So Laura, my wife, who is the senior executive at a large national bank, right? So I've ruined movies for her. She loves
General or
rom-coms.
specific movies?
She loves rom-coms. She loves fun comedies. Like for me,
Constantly telling her how the sausage is made. Is that what you're telling
well,
me?
you know what it is sometimes I'll snicker or something like that in our early years together. We've been together almost 11 years. And she's picked up where now we watched Pretty Woman the other night. She's like, I love that movie. Girls love that movie, right? I just want to watch Pretty Woman. So we watched it. And it was hilarious because Laura's sitting there with that little 7-month-old on her lap and she's picking out the setups and payoffs. She's like, oh, that's a setup because later in the movie, this guy, oh, that's a character beat. The only reason they included that is because later he's going to have a thing where he needs to make the system. And I was just snickering, being like, see, there
you go.
You've seen behind the curtain.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Steven Puri, it's been a pleasure talking
This is
to
awesome.
you.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure. And I wish you continued success with the Suka company.
Thank you.
And I really do wish the folks who are using your app, I wish them success in bringing their creative dreams to life.
Do something. Go out there and do the thing, man.
Absolutely. All right. Be well.
When everything you know starts daring you to go, there's a stirring in your soul. When you feel it, you'll believe and you will doubt. You'll look for a way out, but the whispers start to shout. When you feel it in you, when you feel it, there's nothing you can't do. There's a fire burning right there inside of you. When you believe it, everyone will know. And that fire in you grows till they feel it too. If you're left out in the cold, forsaken and ignored, you'll be brave and you'll be bold. If you feel it, you might go it all alone, but you'll find your way back home. 'Cause there's a light that leads you on when you feel it in you. And when you feel it, there's nothing you can't do. There's a fire burning right there inside of you.